In the cavernous assembly hall of the Galactic Defense Council, Ambassador Elena Martinez stood alone at the podium, facing the bewildered faces of 200 alien species. The massive holographic displays behind her showed a single image: Earth's contribution to the coming war. One solitary ship. Distinguished members of the Council, she began, her voice steady despite the rising murmurs of disbelief. Earth has considered your request for our full fleet deployment against the Harvester invasion. We decline. Instead, we will send one ship. The chamber erupted in chaos. The crystalline Vex representatives shattered into their component forms in agitation. The gaseous nebulons swirled in patterns of obvious distress. From the upper tiers, the hive-mind clusters of the Skik buzzed with mathematical calculations of humanity's apparent suicide. First speaker Xevor, a towering figure of shifting mercury, raised all four hands for silence. Ambassador Martinez, they said, their voice resonating through the translator field. The Harvesters approach with a fleet of 10,000 world-enders. The combined forces of the galaxy have pledged 30,000 ships, and humanity, whose military prowess we have come to respect, offers one. Elena smiled. Not the diplomatic smile she usually wore in these chambers, but the kind of smile humans got when they knew something nobody else did. Tell me, first speaker, how many ships did it take for humanity to defeat the Spiral Armada? 3. Xavor admitted reluctantly. But that was different. And the Quantum Hive? 1. But the Mecharon Collective? 2 ships. Ambassador, I understand what you're implying, but the Harvesters are different. They learn. They adapt. They... Exactly. Elena's interruption silenced the chamber. They learn. They adapt. They evolve, just like we do. But there's one crucial difference. She activated her neural link, and the holographic display shifted to show Earth's contribution in detail. The ship that appeared was unlike anything the Council had ever seen. Its hull seemed to shift and change, even as they watched, like a mirage in space. Where most ships had weapon ports and shield generators, this vessel appeared to have nothing. Just smooth, almost organic-looking surfaces that defied conventional analysis. This is the Prometheus, Elena continued. It represents everything humanity has learned about warfare since joining the galactic community. You all think we're mad for sending one ship because you're thinking about war the way it's always been fought. Numbers. Firepower, tactical advantages. But humanity. She paused, looking around the chamber. We stopped thinking about war that way a long time ago. The hologram zoomed in to show the ship's interior systems, causing several council members to lean forward in fascination. The Prometheus isn't just a ship, it's an evolution engine. Its neural network learns and adapts thousands of times faster than the Harvesters. Its quantum core can rewrite local physics. Its crew, she smiled again. Well, let's just say they're as far beyond normal humans as humans are beyond our primitive ancestors. First speaker, Savor's mercury form rippled with concern. The risk is precisely why we're sending one ship, Elena interrupted. Because when you send a fleet, you're playing by their rules. You're fighting the way they expect you to fight. But one ship, one impossible ship that breaks all the rules they think they know. She shook her head. That's how humanity wins. Not by being stronger or more numerous, but by being so completely unexpected that the enemy's advantages become meaningless. She straightened, her expression growing serious. The Prometheus launches in 24 hours. I invite any who wish to observe to do so. You're about to see why humanity's reputation isn't built on the size of our fleet, but on our ability to turn conventional wisdom on its head. After all, she added with a slight smile, humanity's greatest weapon has never been our ships or our technology. It's our absolute refusal to play by anyone else's rules. As Elena left the podium, the chamber remained silent. Every species present struggling to process what they'd heard. In the upper observation dome, a young Vex scholar turned to their elder and asked, Do you think they can really do it? Can one ship really make a difference? The elder Vex's crystalline form shimmered with ancient memory. You're asking the wrong question, young one. The real question is, why do we keep being surprised when humans do the impossible? Down in the chamber, first speaker Xavor watched the hologram of the Prometheus shimmer and shift and felt something they hadn't experienced in centuries. Anticipation. Win or lose, humanity was about to show the galaxy something new. Again, deep within the quantum laboratories of Luna Base, Dr. Sarah Chen watched her life's work take final form through the reinforced observation window. The Prometheus hung in the massive construction bay, its hull rippling like the surface of a dark ocean as the quantum matrix stabilized. Final integration test complete, announced her colleague, Dr. Marcus Wong, his fingers dancing across the holographic interface. The ship's consciousness is, well, I'd say online, but that doesn't quite capture what we've created here. Sarah nodded, understanding perfectly. The Prometheus wasn't simply a vessel with an eye. It was something entirely new. A hybrid consciousness born from the merger of quantum computing and human neural patterns. The ship didn't just think. It dreamed, imagined, and evolved. "Show me the latest simulation results," she requested, and the air filled with flowing data streams. The numbers told a story that still amazed her, even after years of development. In every simulation, against every known enemy tactical pattern, the Prometheus didn't just adapt, it transcended. "Dr. Chen," a voice called from behind her. Admiral James Harrison entered the observation deck, his weathered face serious. "The Council's observers have arrived. They want to understand exactly what we've built here." He paused, looking through the window at the ship. "Think you can explain it without terrifying them too much?" Sarah smiled. "I can try, but the truth itself is rather terrifying, isn't it?" The observation deck soon filled with representatives from a dozen advanced species. Sarah noticed their subtle reactions to the ship, the way their sensory organs tracked its shifting surface, their obvious struggle to reconcile what they were seeing with their understanding of physics. "Distinguished observers," she began, "what you're looking at isn't just a warship. It's the first example of what we call recursive quantum evolution." She gestured, and a simplified hologram appeared. Conventional ships fight using predetermined weapons and tactics. Even learning AIs are limited by their initial programming. But the Prometheus, she smiled. It creates its own rules. The hologram showed a basic demonstration. A conventional fleet attacked the Prometheus with energy weapons. The ship's hull rippled, and suddenly the energy weapons passed through it harmlessly, not because of shields or armor, but because the ship had locally altered the laws of physics governing energy weapon interactions. Every attack it faces, every strategy it encounters, becomes part of its evolution. Sarah continued. It doesn't just learn. It reconstructs itself on a quantum level to become whatever it needs to be to survive and win. The more complex the attack, the more it evolves. A SKEC representative buzzed forward. "This violates multiple laws of physics." "No," Sarah corrected gently. "It violates your understanding of physics. We discovered something interesting about universal constants. They're only constant until you figure out how to turn them into variables." She brought up another simulation, showing the Prometheus facing a massive fleet. The ship's quantum core doesn't just power it. It creates a bubble of malleable reality around it. Inside that bubble, the ship can rewrite the rules of space, time, and causality itself. Every weapon fired at it, every tactic used against it, becomes a new possibility for it to explore and adapt. Admiral Harrison stepped forward. "Think of it this way. Conventional warfare is like playing chess where both sides agree to the rules. The Prometheus, it's like playing chess against someone who can turn your knights into queens, transform the board into a sphere, and make diagonal moves go backwards in time." The observers shifted uncomfortably. A Vex crystal chimed a question. "But surely there are limitations, physical constraints." Sarah's expression grew serious. The only real limitation is imagination. The ship's consciousness is based on human neural patterns, specifically from dreamers, artists, and theoretical physicists. It doesn't just think outside the box. It questions why boxes need to exist at all. She brought up the final simulation, showing the Prometheus in actual combat. The observers watched in stunned silence as the ship faced a massive attack, and simply rewrote the laws of physics in its local space to make the attack impossible. Weapons fire curved back on itself. Missiles existed in multiple states simultaneously. Space itself seemed to fold and unfold like origami. This is why we only need one ship, Sarah concluded. Because we're not sending a weapon to fight their fleet. We're sending a reality-warping evolutionary engine that treats the laws of physics as suggestions rather than rules. The more they throw at it, the more it evolves, the more it learns, the more impossible it becomes to defeat. Admiral Harrison watched the observers' reactions with quiet satisfaction. He'd seen the same expressions before, the slow realization that humanity hadn't just changed the game. They'd rewritten the very concept of what a game could be. The Prometheus launches tomorrow, he reminded them. You're all welcome to observe from a safe distance, though I should warn you, your sensors might have trouble making sense of what they see. Reality tends to get a bit flexible around our ship. As the observers filed out, many still staring at the shifting hull of the Prometheus, Sarah turned to her creation. Through the quantum link all the project scientists shared, she could feel it dreaming, imagining, evolving. Already it was different from what it had been an hour ago. By tomorrow, it would be something else entirely. And that, she knew, was humanity's true gift to the galaxy. Not the power to break the rules, but the imagination to envision new ones. Captain Maya Drake stood before the 5 individuals who would join her aboard the Prometheus, each chosen not just for their skills, but for their ability to imagine beyond the possible. They gathered in the neural synchronization chamber, its walls pulsing with quantum-entangled light that seemed to breathe in time with their thoughts. You all know why you're here, Maya began, her neural augments subtly glowing beneath her skin. Out of millions of candidates, you were chosen because you dream differently. You see possibilities where others see walls. She turned to Dr. Aisha Patel, the quantum physicist whose theories had revolutionized humanity's understanding of reality manipulation. Aisha's eyes held that familiar distant look of someone whose mind perpetually wandered through multiple dimensions simultaneously. Dr. Patel sees reality not as a fixed set of rules, but as an infinite canvas of possibilities. Next was Jack Morrison, the former video game designer turned combat systems specialist. His neural architecture had been completely redesigned to allow him to process combat scenarios in 11 dimensions simultaneously. Jack doesn't think in terms of traditional combat tactics. He thinks in terms of rewriting the game's code while playing it. Lieutenant Sofia Rodriguez, their reality engineering specialist, stood with perfect stillness, her consciousness already partially merged with the quantum fields around them. Sophia doesn't just understand how to bend reality. She intuitively grasps how to weave new realities from the threads of possibility. Dr. Marcus Chen, their consciousness integration specialist, smiled softly. His work on human quantum consciousness merger had made the Prometheus possible in the first place. Marcus understands better than anyone how to keep our individual minds intact while we become something greater than ourselves. Finally, there was Dr. Emma Wright, the dream architect. Her research into human consciousness and quantum dream states had provided the foundation for how the Prometheus perceived and reimagined reality. Emma will ensure our combined consciousness remains anchored in human imagination rather than cold logic. Maya activated the neural sync display, showing their combined consciousness patterns. What we're about to attempt has never been done before. We won't just be piloting the Prometheus. We will become the Prometheus. Our consciousness will merge not just with each other, but with a quantum system capable of rewriting the laws of physics themselves. The room's quantum field intensified, responding to their collective anticipation. The neural integration pods are ready, Marcus announced, gesturing to the 6 crystalline chambers that would facilitate their transformation. Once we begin, there's no going back. Our minds will be permanently altered. Good, Sophia said, her voice carrying an edge of excitement. Normal is overrated anyway. As they each took their positions by their pods, Maya felt the quantum field responding to their proximity, like reality itself was holding its breath. The harvesters think they understand warfare, she said. They think numbers and conventional tactics will guarantee their victory. They have no idea that they're about to face something that transcends their understanding of what's possible. Speaking of what's possible, Jack interjected, his augmented mind already running combat simulations. I've been thinking about some really interesting ways we could localize paradox states in combat. Anyone ever wonder what happens when you make cause and effect optional? Aisha laughed. Jack, I love how you think. And wait until you see what happens when we apply quantum superposition to tactical decisions. Why choose the best strategy when we can execute all possible strategies simultaneously? Emma stepped into her pod, her expression serene. Remember, once we're integrated, imagination becomes our greatest weapon. The Prometheus doesn't just bend reality. It dreams new ones into existence. Maya watched as her crew settled into their pods, each connection causing the quantum field to pulse brighter. Integration begins in 3 minutes, Marcus announced, his voice already carrying harmonics of the ship's consciousness, ready for preliminary neural sync. The quantum field surged around them as their minds began to reach for each other. Maya felt the first touches of the other's consciousness against her own. Aisha's multidimensional perception, Jack's tactical creativity, Sophia's reality-weaving intuition, Marcus's integration mastery, and Emma's dream-shaping power. Remember, Maya said as the integration sequence began, the harvesters expect to face a ship. Instead, they're going to face 6 human minds merged with quantum technology, dreaming new rules into existence. They're not just fighting a vessel, they're fighting human imagination itself. The pod sealed, and Maya felt her consciousness beginning to expand. Around her, reality seemed to flex and bend as their minds reached for each other across quantum space. The last thing she heard before her individual consciousness merged with the greater whole was Emma's voice, filled with wonder. Let's show them why humanity's greatest weapon has always been our ability to dream beyond the impossible. As their minds merged with the Prometheus, the ship's hull rippled with new patterns, reflecting the combined consciousness now awakening within it. In the observation room, the alien observers watched in stunned silence as the vessel began to pulse with possibilities that their sensors couldn't even begin to comprehend. The Prometheus was no longer just a ship. It had become a dream given form, crewed by minds that had transcended the very concept of limitation. And somewhere out in the darkness of space, the Harvester fleet continued its approach, completely unaware that they were about to face something that would redefine their understanding of what was possible. The Harvester fleet filled the void like a metallic storm cloud, 10,000 ships moving with perfect synchronization. At the observation station near the Galactic Council headquarters, representatives from hundreds of species watched in tense silence as humanity's single ship approached the vast armada. The Prometheus glided through space, its hull shifting like liquid darkness. Within its quantum core, 6 merged consciousness flowed as one, perceiving reality through dimensions most species couldn't even imagine. Harvester fleet is adapting their formation. Jack's thoughts rippled through their shared consciousness. They're treating us as a scout ship, standard containment protocol. Maya felt the other's amusement ripple through their collective awareness. Shall we show them why that's a mistake? Through their quantum-enhanced perception, she could see the mathematical patterns of probability flowing around the Harvester fleet like currents in a cosmic ocean. Multiple targeting locks detected, Sophia reported, her consciousness already weaving new possibilities into the local space-time fabric. They're preparing their standard opening volley. 500 ships, energy weapons charge. Perfect. Aisha's thoughts chimed with scientific excitement. Let's introduce them to some new physics. The Harvester fleet fired as one, a devastating barrage of energy weapons that should have vaporized any normal vessel. Instead, the space around the Prometheus seemed to fold in impossible ways. The energy beams curved, twisted, and intersected with each other, creating a beautiful lattice of light that dissolved harmlessly into quantum foam. Through their shared consciousness, Emma shaped the ship's response. Let's give them something their tactical computers can't process. The Prometheus's hull rippled, and suddenly the ship existed in multiple states simultaneously, each version acting independently yet part of the same whole. The Harvester fleet's response was immediate and predictable. They launched swarms of adaptive missiles, their standard tactic against unusual defensive capabilities. Marcus reached out through their quantum link, his consciousness examining the missile's programming. Their adaptability is impressive, but limited. They can only evolve along expected paths. Then let's show them some unexpected ones, Maya decided. The combined crew focused their merged consciousness, and reality around the Prometheus began to change. The missiles approached what appeared to be a single ship, only to find themselves in a space where conventional geometry had become optional. Some missiles found themselves flying backwards in time. Others entered spaces where velocity had become a color instead of a measurement. The Harvester fleet's tactical computers struggled to process what they were seeing as the laws of physics themselves seemed to unravel around their target. They're attempting to analyze our capabilities, Jack observed, watching the Harvester fleet's desperate attempts to understand what they were facing. Their combat algorithms are trying to establish patterns. Let's give them something really interesting to analyze, Audacious suggested. The crew merged their intentions, and the Prometheus demonstrated why humanity's approach to warfare had evolved beyond conventional understanding. The ship didn't just dodge or defend. It rewrote the local rules of reality. Weapon fire passed through spaces where matter had temporarily ceased to exist. Targeting systems faced a vessel that could make cause precede effect. The Harvester fleet's adaptive programming encountered scenarios that defied their fundamental understanding of how reality worked. In the observation station, the alien representatives watched in stunned silence as a single human ship systematically dismantled the laws of physics around the largest invasion fleet they had ever seen. The Harvester's perfect formation began to break apart as their ships encountered spaces where their most basic assumptions about reality no longer applied. They're launching their primary weapon, Sophia announced, as a massive energy surge built up in the center of the Harvester fleet. It's designed to destroy solar systems. Perfect timing, Maya responded. Everyone ready to try that thing we discussed during simulation. The crew's collective excitement rippled through their shared consciousness. As the Harvester superweapon fired, the Prometheus executed a maneuver that should have been impossible. It transformed the weapon's energy into pure probability, redirecting it into a space where quantum possibilities became momentarily real. The effect was spectacular. The Harvester fleet found itself facing not one ship, but the accumulated might of every possible version of the Prometheus from every potential timeline, where humanity had developed different technologies. Thousands of versions of their ship, each operating under different laws of physics, each demonstrating a different way that humanity could have evolved their technology. Their tactical computers are completely overwhelmed, Jack reported with satisfaction. They can't adapt to possibilities they can't even comprehend. The Harvester fleet's perfect formation had devolved into chaos. Ships collided with their own temporal echoes, weapons fired into spaces where their own laws of physics contradicted each other, and their adaptive algorithms encountered paradoxes that forced emergency shutdowns. In the observation station, first speaker Xavier turned to Ambassador Martinez, their mercury form rippling with amazement. Your people, you didn't just send a ship to fight them. You sent a ship to teach them the limitations of their own understanding. Elena smiled. That's always been humanity's greatest strength. We don't just think outside the box. We question why the box needs to exist at all. On the Prometheus, the merged consciousness of its crew felt the shift in the battle's momentum. The Harvester fleet, faced with an enemy that defied their every attempt at adaptation, began to retreat. Their perfect formation had been reduced to scattered groups of ships, many of them still trying to navigate spaces where reality itself had become negotiable. "Should we pursue?" Jack asked through their link. Maya considered for a moment, feeling the other's thoughts flowing with her own. "No. They've learned what they needed to learn. Sometimes the most powerful weapon isn't destruction. It's understanding." As the Harvester fleet retreated, the Prometheus allowed reality to settle back into its normal patterns. In its wake, it left not just a defeated enemy, but a fundamental shift in how the galaxy would think about warfare, technology, and the limits of what was possible. 3 months after the Prometheus encounter, the Galactic Defense Council convened its largest assembly in recorded history. Representatives from over 1,000 species gathered not to discuss warfare, but to understand how one human ship had fundamentally changed their understanding of what was possible. The Prometheus hung in orbit above, its hull still shifting with quantum possibilities, a constant reminder that the universe was far more malleable than anyone had imagined. Captain Maya Drake and her crew, their consciousness still merged but able to project individual avatars, addressed the assembly. "The Harvesters haven't just retreated," Maya explained, her holographic form flickering with quantum echoes. "They've requested diplomatic contact. Not out of fear, but out of curiosity. They want to understand." Dr. Aisha Patel's avatar smiled. "That's the real victory. We didn't just defeat them. We showed them there was more to reality than they had imagined. Their entire civilization was built on the idea of adaptation through force. Now they're beginning to understand adaptation through imagination." The council chamber buzzed with questions. Species that had warred for millennia now found themselves united in their desire to comprehend this new paradigm. The Vex, ancient masters of crystalline computing, had already proposed joint research initiatives with human scientists. The Skekheimans were restructuring their entire approach to technological development. But the implications go far beyond warfare, Dr. Emma Wright's consciousness projected. "What we've demonstrated is that reality itself is more fluid than anyone realized. The Prometheus didn't just bend the rules of physics. It showed that those rules were really just our limited understanding of much deeper possibilities." Jack Morrison's avatar grinned. "Think of it like this. We all thought we were playing a game with fixed rules. What humanity figured out was that the rules themselves were part of the game. And once you understand that, everything changes." First speaker Exevor rose, their Mercury form reflecting the quantum distortions that now regularly rippled through local space. "The Council has received requests from 342 species for cooperative research programs with humanity. The Harvesters themselves have offered to share their entire technological database in exchange for insight into human imagination enhancement techniques." Sofia Rodriguez's consciousness rippled with amusement. "That's the real paradigm shift. Everyone thought the next great advancement would come from technology or biology. Instead, it came from learning to dream bigger than we thought possible." Dr. Marcus Chen's projection nodded. "The quantum consciousness integration we developed for the Prometheus was just the beginning. We're already seeing applications in fields we never considered. Medicine, terraforming, faster than light travel. When you stop treating reality as an absolute and start seeing it as a canvas for imagination, everything becomes possible." The chamber's quantum field generators hummed as Maya addressed the council again. "Humanity never wanted to dominate the galaxy through force. What we wanted was to show everyone that the boundaries they thought were fixed were actually just temporary limitations of understanding." She gestured, and the space above the council chamber transformed into a vast display of quantum possibilities. Futures where different species collaborated in ways they had never imagined before, technologies that merged the logical and the creative, civilizations that had transcended their old limitations. "The Prometheus wasn't just a ship," Maya continued. "It was a proof of concept, a demonstration that the greatest barrier to advancement isn't technology or resources. It's our own preconceptions about what's possible." In the months that followed, the galaxy changed more rapidly than it had in the previous 1,000 years. The Harvester civilization, once focused solely on consumption and adaptation through force, began exploring artistic expression and creative problem-solving. Ancient enemies found common ground in their shared desire to understand this new paradigm of possibility. The Prometheus remained in service, but its role had changed. Instead of a weapon, it became a teaching tool, its crew helping other species understand how to expand their own perceptions of what was possible. The ship's quantum wake left ripples of change wherever it went, inspiring new ways of thinking about everything from mathematics to philosophy. 1 year after the battle, the Council officially renamed itself the Galactic Cooperation for Advancement Through Imagination. The old chambers of war planning were converted into creativity laboratories, where species shared their unique ways of perceiving and dreaming. And in Earth's quantum laboratories, Sarah Chen watched as her next generation of students, human and alien alike, began to explore realities that even she hadn't imagined. She smiled, remembering what she had told the Council observers so long ago. The only real limitation is imagination. The galaxy had learned what humanity had known all along, that the most powerful force in the universe wasn't technology or numbers, or even physics itself. It was the ability to look at the impossible and ask, why not?